At ease. It's your boy Soul Immortal. Something changed, man. I can tell that over the past few weeks, like something has changed in me. It's like my direction has just been altered a little bit into a different direction, right? And I've been thinking about it over the last number of days, and in hindsight, I can see it, man. So you know how I like going, I'm not the type of brother that goes out and spends money on clothes. I'm not the brother that's out popping bottles on a weekly basis or whatever, right? I would much spend that leisure money that I set aside on seeing certain places on the planet, right? To go and stand on top of the pyramids, it brings the concept of time to a hard reality. When you think of something that's been there for several years, when you think of eternity, I mean, you can identify with the vastness of us, When I think about us coming here for, either 20 years, 100 years on this life, on this earth, you can understand that it's really just a blink of time in the grand scheme of things, man. And it turns your mind somewhere else, when I go and stand, at the edge of the Grand Canyon and I can look at my size compared to the things that I'm looking at, the vastness of this world, it quickly brings me to an understanding, man, that there's something so much greater than us. You know what I'm saying? And a few weeks ago, brothers, I was going through this mode of just trying to get a higher level of understanding, right? So I went on this fast, right? I started fasting straight water. And then I was like, man, I want to leave. I want to go somewhere, man, and just experience something different, experience another level of peace. So I was trying to find a trip, Google places in the U.S., spiritual places. Boom, Sedona, Arizona came up, right? And I'm thinking about the places I've seen. I'm like, man, Sedona's going to be no different. Like I'm going to get that experience, that high that I like partaking in, right? So I book a trip to Phoenix, right? So I'm on my way to Sedona, right?
Is it not written in your law that ye are gods? You understand what I'm saying? So it just depends on what level you own based on, whether you're human or whether you're immortal.
So I'm driving into Sedona, right? And, no lie, it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. The scene was epic. The green was green, the red of the mountains were red. It was just a beautiful thing to see, right? But I had to make a decision on, which mountain I was gonna climb. There's several different landmarks there. So I passed the sign that says Devil's Bridge. I'm like, I remember seeing Devil's Bridge online. I said, check that out, man. It was a nice little setup. So I started up the mountain to Devil's Bridge, right? Now, one thing I noticed different, compared to other places I've been. Again, like I said, the scenery was on point. It was epic. But one thing I noticed that was missing was that God energy I always feel, that high that I was talking about earlier, right? So I keep walking, right? And eventually I get to the top, and it was amazing. It was an amazing thing to see. I was just like, boom, behold, Devil's Bridge. You know what I'm saying? But one thing that I felt, one thing that I experienced was something that I haven't experienced or felt in over a year or so, man. I love jumping out of planes because of the adrenaline rush, because of that high that I like to experience, right? I've gotten bikes up to high speeds, but for the first time in years, brothers, I felt fear. You know what I'm saying? And I almost forgot about what this type of fear felt like. You know what I'm saying? I always talk about Psalms 91. I always talk about the protection of the Most High. I always talk about, I broke that down on the path, that feeling that's associated with that, right? And brother, I'm telling you, I forgot what life was like without that. And I'm telling you, I was very disturbed. So I'm headed back down the mountain, right? And I'm just contemplating on this feeling, right? At the same time, I'm trying to focus on my goals and my vision and my dreams because again, I'm on this fast. Again, I'm here for spiritual reasons, right? And brother, I can't connect with any of those things. It's just gone, right? So I get about halfway down the mountain, and there's this little makeshift sit down area. It ain't nothing but some huge rocks kind of just stacked on top of each other. So I sit there and I'm trying to gather myself. I'm trying to understand what's going on. And I'm trying to just kind of have like a quick meditation session, man, try to cross over to the other side real quick to check myself. And brother, it was just gray, man. I couldn't really tap in. And all I kept thinking about was that protection I'm always talking about is gone. Like what happened, right? And then I started thinking about the name of this place where I was, man. I said Devil's Bridge, right? And at a later time, I Googled it, and what it said was, they call certain places on the planet Devil's Bridge because one, it's such a dangerous area, and two, that it's so miraculously made that it must have been made by Satan himself. And I was like that's interesting. You know what I'm saying? And for some reason, I started thinking about Brother Job in the Bible, right? And I remember at the time, I couldn't really remember the whole story, but I do remember there was a point when the quote unquote devil went to God and said, you know what, like Job, like it looks like he's moving a certain way, but that's only because you have a veil of protection around him. And it said the devil was like, I bet you if you remove that veil, like you'll see a whole nother side of Brother Job. And God was like, let's see what it do, right? And it talked about Job having that feeling. It talked about Job having that veil lifted. So that's really the only way I could think about it. I could see it, right? But the thing is, I started looking at myself. Now, as I observed myself outside of myself, brothers, I could see things that I was very, upset about, within me, right? I could easily see that the way that I thought I was moving wasn't as crisp as it should be. And what I mean, to be more specific, I wasn't moving, due to this veil being around me, due to this veil guiding me where, I wasn't moving as solid as I should have been because I had this protection, right? So it just felt like this veil was lifted, like to expose me to myself. You know what I'm saying? And like what I noticed, to be more specific, I still have some tightening up to do. Of course, man, I've turned my back and I no longer entertain certain things. I no longer entertain certain, 95% women. But sometimes I do still give a certain type woman too much energy. If a woman, it comes in my radar and I know that she's not on that vibe, I might still entertain it, via text for a little bit. And those are kinks in my armor. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I do spend more time doing, other things that I could use that time more valuable. Long story short, again, I could just see myself, man. And I was just thinking, do we ever have self-observations? Ultimately, what I gathered, brothers, was that, I was simply coming up short on my actions. You know what I'm saying? And what I mean by that is, when I think about the levels of consciousness, when I think about the levels of peace that I just want to maintain and continue to pursue, right? I have to be pursuing perfection. You know what I'm saying? I have to be. That's the only way I can move. And I just realized that in order to do that, I have to make some changes. I still have to burn some parts of the old me. And as I burn those, as I release certain parts, my message, my whole world begins to go a slightly different direction, right? But as I began to come down that mountain, right, I began to get downloads. And what's crazy is that two of the downloads, ironically, came from the book Outwitting the Devil, right? And the one thing, the first thing that stood out was, the portion of the book that talked about drifting, the portion that talked about hypnotic rhythm. I was just talking about our actions and our conduct on a live the other day, right? Like, guys, we have to be aware of how we're moving. We have to, and I'm talking about down to the very details. As men, we must observe, like, for a long story short, I just changed my way of planning. I went from a paper planner to an electronic planner. And brother, I'm telling you, I'm monitoring every move I make throughout the day. Besides the time I'm eating, besides the time I'm going to the bathroom, everything I do is documented. Because at the end of a month, I want to be able to look at myself and say, how was I moving? Like what was I doing? I have to be in charge of myself. You know what I'm saying? Hypnotic rhythm. And what that's saying is, once we, if we get off center, if we get off the path for a little bit and just start going in the wrong direction slightly, what it's saying is that if we keep going through these actions, going here, doing that, going here, doing that over and over, it begins to build a beat. It begins to create a rhythm. And once that rhythm gets so strong, once it gets so been in your system for so long, it becomes who you are. And then what the book says that at some point you can get so deep where you can't come out of it. So drifting, hypnotic rhythm, guys, we have to be aware of these things, right? Then I started thinking about the only way to combat drifting in hypnotic rhythm. And it talked about definite of purpose. And when I thought about that, brothers, there's a thin line. There's a difference between a man being on his purpose and a man being in a state of definite purpose. You know what I'm saying? When a man is on his purpose, that simply means he is aware of his purpose and he is taking some kind of action toward his higher self, right? When a man is in a state of definite purpose, that means that anything that doesn't vibrate on that level can't exist in this world. You know what I'm saying? A man can be on his purpose and still straddle the fence. When you're on your purpose, brother, there is no room for error. And it says that that's the state that a man has to be in. So guys, we have to monitor our lives, man. Every single thing, every single move we make is going toward creating our new world. And if we want to avoid drifting, we have to be men of definite purpose, right? So what does that mean? That means you got to be aware of what you entertain. And I say it all the time, but the shows you watch, I'm not saying don't watch certain shows. At minimum, a man needs to know the underlying message of everything, every song, every movie, every commercial that's coming into his space. He needs to be able to identify the underlying current and at least acknowledge it, and then just look at that thing as a form of entertainment, right? Think about our relationships. When I talk about relationships, I'm not just talking about women. I'm talking about relationships with everybody. You and your boys that hang out, you and your boys that have the group chats and talking in circles, whatever. There's a vibe there. You know what I'm saying? When you talk to women, there's a vibe there. Anytime you interact with words and emotions and conversation with anybody, you're exchanging energy. So a man that's on definite purpose, brother, some of the guys you hang around, you can't hang around them, man. Some of the places you go, you can't be there because those vibes don't fit in your direction, man. And I'm telling you, man, a lot of guys, we meet these women in clubs, we meet these women in restaurants and wherever, and online. I'm telling you, brother, if you aren't vetting these women, you're setting yourself up for failure, man. Because I don't care how fine a woman is, brother. You let the wrong woman in your space. You let the wrong woman in your space, brother, and your world is getting ready to nosedive. You know what I'm saying? So, brothers, we have to check everything, man, if we're going to be men of definite purpose, right? Now, this is the thing, and this is where I think a lot of us brothers, start to begin falling short, right? See, that breakdown of going from that first step to the last step in the path, that's not something you go through one time and now you're in this state of bliss. Every time you're elevating in life, you're going to have to, you're going to be consistently going through this cycle. So you're gonna go through this cycle for the remainder of your days, guys. So it's constant. It's good to stay on that knowledge, man. That's why you have that thing forever. Keep watching that thing. Watch it once a month. Watch it once a year, man. Because it's easy to fall off that path. And in order to stay on it, guys, we simply just have to remain aware, and we simply have to remain intentional in our actions.